So greed
Yes.
has actually made, like, it has dried up those opportunities that
Yes.
did
Yes.
exist. You know, uh, Zimbabwe used to be
Yes.
the economy used to be booming. But at the end of the day, I would say
Wow.
greed
Yes.
took away some of those opportunities. Or I
Yes.
can say poorly aligned projects
Yes.
took away some of those opportunities.
Yes. Well, hello, STEM2Roots. This is your host, Mike Temba. This is where we plan on talking our way into a plan. Tonight, this is actually nighttime. I have a brother who decided to have this conversation late night, and I'm so excited to have him here. You guys will get to know him. Munashe, my brother, introduce yourself to all my people. Who you are, what do you do, where you from, and anything else you want to share, bro.
Okay, so my name is Munashe Kebete.
Mhm.
I am from Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe.
Uh, yeah, right down under.
What's that jersey?
Well, today I decided to wear some Senegal to represent Africa. Yeah,
Okay, West
I
Africa. All right. Uh-huh.
I decided to represent. I'm everything Africa.
Uh-huh.
So you gotta represent out here.
Right.
And so I'm an applications analyst.
Mm-hmm.
That's some fun stuff to do.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we are doing this at night because we are parents, so we had to put our kids to sleep first.
That's true. That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
so
Yes, right.
here, yeah, so this is our free time.
Yes.
So we are making use of
Yes.
our free time.
And we'll touch
A
on that. Yeah, we'll touch on the kids. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So a little bit about me is what I'm a soccer fan. Like, I'm crazy about soccer.
Of course.
For all those who know me, I'm a Manchester United fan, and you know it's do or die, Manchester, no
Yes.
matter what.
Yes.
So that's what I that's what I like to do. So
Yes.
sports, and well, now since I'm a parent, parenting stuff.
Yes. Yes. Hmm. Application what? What? Let's go back to what you do.
Applications analyst.
Applications analyst. What
Yes.
is that? What does your day look like as a professional?
Well, it's quite interesting because
Hmm.
I've been doing this for a year.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I've been doing this for a year. So when I started, I was a little bit nervous, like, oh my God, what did I get myself into?
What have I
Because
gotten myself into? Yeah.
yeah, you know, because when I put on my resume, some of the things, like, I knew how to do them, but I hadn't done them like
Mm.
hands-on. I had
Mm-hmm.
done them in school, but it was a while.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, what my job does is when hospitals want their EHR customized or localized, in the terms we use, like localization,
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one who does the build. So I'm the
Mm.
one who runs the macros. So we basically do this in the Excel.
A lot of
So
Excel macros. Yeah.
yeah, so I maintain the Excel macros, any updates they need, any customization they need. I'm the one who does that in the back end, and
Mm.
so it's quite fun because for the past year I've become to learn a lot of things that I didn't know about myself.
Nice.
But
You're a professional. You are into tech. This is something that is marketable anywhere in the world.
hmm
But here you are. You live here in America, right? You've chosen to work here in America.
hmm
First of all, is it fair to say it's a choice to work in America? Have you chosen to work here in America?
yes, I think once I moved here 15 years ago,
15 years
my
ago.
my goal was, initially I was studying psychology, interestingly
Oh,
enough.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, but life took its turn. I had to make some vast decisions, like, well, with the way life going now, psychology is not going to be sustainable in the long run. So I had to make changes. So I ended up choosing to do tech and all other stuff. Uh, so choosing to stay here basically had to do with me, like, okay, I have to be here to take care of me and my family.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
because 3/4 of my family is here.
3/4 of your family is here. Okay.
Yeah, so back home is more like, yeah, you know, there are people, but my family is here.
Yes.
My brother, my sister, my mom, and all those people. So they're
Yes.
already here. So me
Yes.
having left home and the situation it was then back home, for me, I was like, well, what's lucrative for me? How can I benefit me? Because it has to be about me at the end of the day.
Of course, it has to start with you. I want to
Yeah.
go back to something you mentioned. You talked about psychology. Did you choose to do psychology when you came here, or did you think about psychology at all before you even came to America?
Yeah. So when I came to America, my major I was a double major, psychology and business administration.
When you came to America,
Yes. So
I'm
those were.
curious to know what made you think about psychology coming from Zim. Did you know anybody who is a therapist, who is a clinical psychologist, who is anywhere with a psychology background coming from Zim?
Well, it was basically based on research, on me understanding what my strengths, and me being more analytical, me being somebody who pays attention to detail and likes to think and I like to help people as well.
Hmm.
And also coming from a Christian family where my grandfather was a pastor, my mom is
Mm.
a pastor, having to see how they help people and
Mm.
also
I see.
understanding, yeah. And then when I looked at my education wise, the things I was really good at, it was
Mm.
pointing to be like I like research and I like to do so much things that have to do with analytical part of it.
Interesting.
So
Interesting.
I went the route of psychology, and I enjoyed psychology. Like I
Uh-huh.
loved it. And so my goal, I had goals set up, like I said earlier, but life did this thing. I had to
Yes.
shift. I had to make
Yes.
a shift. So
Ah.
so my shift took me to do data analytics because now I'm still doing that, analysis part of it. My analytical mind is still
Yes.
getting involved because I have
Yes.
to analyze the data I work with sometimes, and I
Uh-huh.
have to also, just have that opportunity to still do something I know I can do and enjoy, but
Interesting.
in a different field altogether.
Interesting. No, no. And the reason why I asked that is, I was lucky to go to this. I started college in a setting where there was a lot of different students from all over Africa, all over, right? From the South, Central, West, North Africa, like Africa was represented in that school. It was an
Hmm.
American college, and I did not know one student leaving because we did 2 years there and then moved to the States, and some went all around the world. I still, as I sit here, don't know one student that ended up in psychology. And I
Hmm.
knew what to point that to because coming from Gambia, I know Senegal. I did not grow up seeing anybody in the profession of a therapist, a clinical
Hmm.
psychologist, or anybody in that field at all, right? And so it was foreign as far as like students that age trying to figure out what to do. So that's why I was curious. And that answer you gave me is profound, where, early you did see from your family background how helping people and talking to people and being that analytical with human behavior became something that, you chose to do. That's why I went there. I want to go back, bro.
Hmm.
15 years ago you left Zim, you said?
Yes.
15 years ago. Where did it start for you as far as traveling to America? I was about to say wanting to travel to America. That would be an assumption, so I don't know.
Yeah.
The whole journey towards leaving Zim for America, where did it start?
So I guess I can say my sister set the pace for everybody because my sister was the first one to come, like
Okay.
in 20, 2002.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but then I was like, I think doing form 3 in high school.
Okay.
Yeah, in terms of, yeah. So and then my mom came. My mom and my brother came 2 years later.
Mm.
So I was the last guy in.
Hmm.
So initially I stayed behind to finish high school because I was like,
Okay.
well, I'll just stay behind and do my A levels here, and then after that, I can come. So that was the benchmark, and my uncle always wanted us to come here, and you used to travel a lot. One of my mom's
Mm.
brothers. So he's the one who was, he's the one who brought my sister here. So he was like, okay, you guys need to go there, get some more education, and we moved from that part. So I was the last guy in after I finished my A levels.
So you finished your A level. So your education back home was not only foundational. You went all the way to A levels,
Yeah,
and so you did have a lot of time at home to think about whether it's the job market at home, whether it's life at home, whether it's just the condition and environment that is, let me call it, opportunities that are
yeah,
there or lack thereof. Because if you go up to A level, you know enough about the country and what's around you after your A level exams.
yeah.
Was there any point in time where you saw opportunity enough to rival, that goal of going to America during your A levels?
Uh, Not really. Not really, cause my mind had already been set. My mind already been made. Like, well, I was the only one left. Like,
Okay, okay,
So for me, I was
okay.
like, everybody's up there.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
so I'm here, and back then, the Zimbabwean economy, as everybody knows, was
Hmm.
slowly declining. So
Okay.
opportunities were there, but not really there.
Hmm.
So you either had to grind to make sure you make ends meet. Like, you had to be very aggressive to get
Yes.
to get to the point where you are. So
Hmm.
for me, my aggressive approach was like, well, maybe I need to jump ship and you know and go and do something out there and see what life brings.
Hmm.
So yeah, then here I am. Because after I finished high school, I didn't like straight away come here.
Yes.
I came here 2 years after I finished high school.
2 years after
So
A level.
yes.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
came here 2 years after A level. So I had time to sit down and trying to find ways like, okay, I need to find a job,
Yes.
but it wasn't just happening. Like, it wasn't just happening. So
So
I
what did
had
you
to.
attempt to do during those 2 years?
So the funny thing enough, in those 2 years, I did a course in marketing. I did a course in marketing, and I finished that. And so I was like, well, I'm here. Let me do some marketing and just see how that goes. And yeah, it did went well. But I haven't used that certificate in marketing.
As you're talking, more things are coming in my head because now I'm linking it to Gambia and what I know about Gambia.
Yeah.
Here you are. You finished your A levels. You were there 2 years later at home,
Mhm.
and the decision to go and do marketing, to do more classes, was it because you needed to add on top of your education, or was there no opportunity to try the workforce? What pushed you into the marketing side?
Yeah, so there was an opportunity to work the workforce.
Uh-huh.
So because like I said, my goal was wanted to be uh, a psychologist. So I was
Yes.
like, whilst I'm waiting to go do that, I
Uh-huh.
also need to know how to market myself out there.
Okay. All
So
right.
I need to understand some of those concepts
Uh-huh.
and be able when the opportunity arises. For a psychologist, the most like you have to at least have a PhD.
Yes.
Or so my goal was me to be a
Right.
clinical psychologist.
Right.
And but once I become that, do I know how to make myself marketable? So this was so
Ah.
I did all my moves had already been planned out. Like I
You
said,
were calculated. That's
yeah,
nice.
so I had planned certain ways how I'm gonna attack my arrival in America and how I'm gonna do certain things,
Ah.
and just through conversation with my sister and my mom and everybody else. So I had an idea of what when I get here, how I'm gonna attack college, and how long am I gonna be in college?
Oh, let
Up
me
and
get that straight. So, so that planning was not for your future in Zim. That planning was all okay. This is what I'm going to do when I. So the whole goal during that 2 years was for America.
yeah,
Okay,
because
okay,
I
all
knew
right.
I had to whenever it had to happen, I had to be prepared.
Because yes, I hear
you
you.
know I had to
Okay.
be prepared. But
Okay.
but sometimes you can be prepared. You also have to be prepared for surprises.
You. I hear you. So I want to go. There's one more thing I want to ask about Zim. I mean, obviously, there's more questions that will come. But you said something about the time around the time that you were in school.
Hmm.
So A levels you do lower six and upper six. Is it 2 years?
Yes.
Okay, Gambia had that system and then it changed. So that's why. All right. So from your A levels to the 2 years you spent there to now 15 years. So we can say roughly 20 years ago, you said Zimbabwe's economy was declining. So
Hmm.
declining, this is 20 years ago. So here we are 20 years later. How would you assess what you saw then as far as declining goes? Did it stop declining? Is it on its way up? Is it up already? Where do you assess Zimbabwe's economy today?
So based on just talking to people over there, because
Mhm.
last time I was there was 2016.
Hmm.
Uh, it's even worse than what it was when I was there. And
Hmm.
this is mostly based on conversations with people like, yeah, man, this is what it is when you were
Yes.
here. And
Yes.
and looking at it, and sometimes, I still have like nephews and nieces there. So
Yes.
when I communicate with them and certain things, I'm like, oh, this is what it is now. Because I'm
Hmm.
remembering how it was, but it's not what it is now. So there's been so
Hmm.
many changes. Uh, Even though I can say it has its worse than, doesn't mean there's no room for. There is always room for like, okay, yeah, things can turn around, but how?
Hmm. Things. So interesting you said that. So I was curious to know. And that is perfectly aligned with my observation. It's no secret to you, my wife is from Zimbabwe. I
Yep.
was lucky to visit last year, and something happened whilst we were there. For her, it was 20 years since she left home, right? So going back 20 years later, um, you would think for a lot of places that you go, I'll say all around the world,
Yeah.
you will go to places and you'll see improvement. You'll see changes that have gone towards something evolving.
Mhm.
We visited an area where she grew up. So, from her description, living there like 20 years ago, I mean, and not only her, the entire family, their description of the area was that it was vibrant, it was beautiful, it was landscaped, it was, they described it as, I think if I recall well, I think there was, I don't know whether, I think it's the people that worked in the electrical grid and their
Mhm.
housing or something like that, but it was housing that was set up by some sort of company. So it was a beautiful area. When we went to that area that she recalls as just so beautiful, so clean, it was the opposite and not in a good way.
Yeah.
So there was no improvement. It was just basically down the drain. And that's why that is perfectly aligned with people that you talk to and uh, um, their observation. And here's why I'm going there. If right now, let's say if I force you to point a finger,
Hmm.
who will you blame for the fact that majority of Zimbabwe youth right now, because I
Yeah.
spoke to a few people there, majority of them from young age, from school to people that graduated, eh, they have ambition, they have a drive, and their drive and ambition is leading them to want to leave Zimbabwe. If I tell you to point fingers at what's causing that, what would you do?
What would so I think there's no clear vision of where we are heading.
Hmm.
We So pointing a finger might not be like I'm gonna point a finger to A B C D.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can point the finger to A B C D,
Mhm.
but in just general terms, if we look
Yes.
at it, Zimbabweans, we education wise, I think we like to learn,
Hmm.
and we try to be very educated, and but at the end of the day, there's no pathway. Like we have people who have graduated with degrees from university,
Yes.
but they don't know what to do with them
Yes.
because there's no those opportunities for them
Mm-hmm.
to, if you don't know anybody or if you don't have somebody who can help you and lift you, you're
Yes.
just gonna graduate from university and that's it, and you just have that degree just laying there. So the fact that there's nothing to do after that and there's nothing that's tempting you to stay,
Yes.
you look elsewhere. You start thinking
Yes.
like, okay, so I'm here, I have
Yes.
my degree in economics, I have my degree in finance,
Yes.
but you know then there's no opportunities for me to use that here. So what can I do? Okay, maybe let me
Mm.
look at A, B, C, D, and maybe C. You know, if this will actually put me in a better position for me and my family. Like I said, at the end of the day,
Yes.
it's about
Yes.
me and my family.
It's got to start
You
there.
know, you're
Mm.
gonna have to start there before you
Yes.
start worrying about everybody
Mm-hmm.
else.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, I think what's pushing them is like, okay, I have to do something
Yes.
for me to
Yes.
begin with. you
Yes.
know and if the moment you are able to do something for you, maybe you can think about, oh, so what can we do?
Mm-hmm.
But so I can point at greed.
Hmm.
So greed, and then we can umbrella it to corruption and all other things.
Yes.
So greed
Yes.
has actually made, like, it has dried up those opportunities that
Yes.
did
Yes.
exist. you know uh, Zimbabwe used to be
Yes.
the economy used to be booming. But at the end of the day, I would say
Wow.
greed
Yes.
took away some of those opportunities. Or I
Yes.
can say poorly aligned projects
Yes.
took away some of those opportunities.
Yes.
So at the end of the day,
Yes.
it's a pretty interesting, because at the end of the day, we gotta uh you can point fingers, but you can
Yes.
actually just you have to do what's good for you at that very moment. And I think
That's
that's where it is now. For it's like survival of the fittest. You're gonna
survival.
have to,
Survival.
yeah, you're gonna have to do for things that work for you as an individual. And so everybody, that's what everybody, even those who are still in home in Zimbabwe, I think they are also embarking in things like, okay, I'm gonna have to do something to sustain me. And
Yes.
so they are living day by day.
They're leaving. People are leaving. Everybody
Yeah.
that has the chance is leaving. So as you were talking, like so many stories came in mind, and I would like to hear your opinion on this. You mentioned greed. Actually, before greed, let's go back to education. I had a very interesting conversation with a well-educated Zimbabwean who is now based in Joburg in South Africa. And he told me this. Obviously, I don't know this. He told me when Mugabe took over, when he was in power, that he was a teacher. Is that true? Like he was a teacher before. So
Hmm.
because education is something that he puts all the way up here, something that was very, very important to him or his agenda or his mandate in Zim was educating Zimbabwe.
Hmm.
And so education was a big, big part of what he brought, where a lot of people were educated up to a very high level, right?
Hmm.
And then there were so many educated people. It not only flawed as things were going down in Zim. A
Hmm.
lot of them went to South Africa, and a lot of them left the country because their
Hmm.
level of education was not matching the opportunities that were being offered in Zim.
Yeah.
That was amazing for me to hear because it just reflects a lot of people that I know, even outside, I mean, here in the US and especially England, where you have a lot of Zimbabweans that have a high education. But even with their love for Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe is not offering something that will match their level of education.
Yeah.
That was fascinating for me to hear. Something else that you mentioned, and you said greed. It takes me to a story because you know me, you know this mouth. I like to talk. I like to ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
you know that's what I live for. So I met somebody who is in the mining industry. So Gambia, we
Hmm.
don't have natural resources. So I'm always fascinated by countries in Africa that have all these minerals. So I asked him. He said he's been in the mining industry for 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
I said to him, 16 years mining the same mining place. He said, yes. I said, you must be running out of resources now. He looked at me and laughed. He said, he's mined there for 16 years, right? And the acres of land, the vastness of land of untapped resources, right? They've not even hit a quarter, a fraction of it.
Mm-hmm.
16 years. So, as amazing as that sounds, he then further went to tell me how hard working at the mine is, right?
Mm-hmm.
He explained something to me that I'll never forget it. That's why I'm able to explain it over and over. He said to me, he as somebody who has walked the ranks 16 years later, he's at a rank where he's no supervisor, he's no manager, but he's high up there as far as a senior miner. Up till now, he's on his toes about doing everything right so that he won't lose his job.
Mm-hmm.
I folded my hands and I said, go on. He said, you have somebody on the safety side, so the manager on the safety side, and there's a manager on the side of production. Both of them have their quota and they have their goal.
Mm-hmm.
If the guy that's running the safety side does a bad job and something happens that affects a miner or like anything safety, they
Mm-hmm.
get fined. It disturbs their bottom line, and then they have an issue. The person on the production side, if they don't produce what they need to produce, then they have an issue. So both of them know this, but there's pressure on both of them. So the person, the manager, supervisor that's responsible for production, he said sometimes he is not reaching his quota at the end of the week or the month. And so
Mm-hmm.
he pushes them to do something that are at the edge of the safety measures.
Yes.
Knowing that the safety guy is right there, doesn't care, he doesn't want to lose his job. The safety guy doesn't want them to touch. And them the miners end up being affected. Because if anybody does something on the safety side, they fine you
Mm-hmm.
from your salary for doing that thing that's on the safety side. If you don't meet your production, then they fine you. They take it away from your pay, which is low already.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, man, that's not fair. That's not fair. You can't walk like that. He said to me, guess what? If you find that any day, the line of people waiting for your job is so long, they can replace you the very second they tell you to go home.
Mm-hmm.
When he explained that, my mind was blown in a way where I was saddened by it. I thought about our home, Africa, and a place like that that has all that God-given resource, and that's still the environment that we are in.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how we will escape something like that. And I attach all of that to greed, like you just said.
Yeah. And
Greed.
grid. And it's I can say it's one-sided grid. You know. Grid, we live here and people here are greedy as well. But one thing I've noticed, like their greed is very systematic. You
Systematic
know.
greed.
Yeah. It's like it recycles itself.
Mm.
So in the naked eye you don't see it because you getting what you need. Your needs are being met. So at the end of the day, you're not bothered about that greed because
Mm.
it's you just like, oh, maybe I have, you get all your needs. Because most of the people, I think everybody wants if their needs are met, it's you don't grow a lot because
Mm.
you're getting what you need to an extent. Obviously, as time goes on, I myself, my needs expand. Like, oh, I want more. So we all have greed,
Yes.
but I think for our motherland, the greed is one-sided. Like the greed only is for those up there, right?
I see.
So
I
when
see.
hey, I feel like when you with that grid, if that grid recycles itself and comes back into society, that people at least are able to get their needs, and then you recycles back to a backup, you will see like things might change for the
Yes.
better. But once, of course, the grid is only segmented, obviously the people at the bottom, or they are not getting their needs met. So it's, I think for an economy to boom, the middle class and the lower class has to be
Middle
strong.
class. There has to be
Eh,
strong middle class.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
if the middle class is just, not doing anything, then the economy is not going to really boom, because the middle class is not holding it, because they're the ones in the middle. So they're the ones who have to keep the balance between top part and the bottom part. So at the end of the day, uh, it's it's always something I'm like, well, I'm not much of a politics person, but I
Yes.
always know like, you can be greedy, but can it be greedy that, the money circles back into the society, and find a way to put it back into society and get it back to yourselves? You know, is that it's possible. But it's
Yes.
more like, oh yeah, I found this money, I'm putting it in my pocket. That's it.
Yes.
Just so it becomes
It's an
back
African problem.
individualistic.
It's an African
Like,
problem.
yeah.
And from everything that I heard about Zim, it's a place where the middle class was so strong.
Yeah.
People were thriving. And that's every person that knows Zim well that I spoke to repeated the same thing. Not only Zimbabweans, I'm talking about, just even a friend of mine's dad who was a diplomat, a Gambian diplomat in Zimbabwe,
Hmm.
in the early 80s, was talking about great things about Zim. I cannot believe we've hit half an hour.
Eh, time flies when you're having good time, huh?
Wow! And for me, at StemToRoots, this is the time where I wind down because I could see how intense it was getting. There's a lot of interesting things to touch. In winding down, I do this thing called "Teach Me, Tell Me Something You Think I Don't Know." It's like a game we
Oh.
play, right? You tell me something you think I don't know.
Hmm.
If I know it, I'll tell you, come on, man, I'm educated. Or I've been around a long time. I know stuff. But if I don't know it, I'll admit to it and, we can move on. Teach me, bro. Tell me something you think I don't know.
Oh. So it can be anything.
Anything, man.
Anything.
Yeah.
Let's talk about You mentioned Mugabe.
Yes. Mugabe,
Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
And then we talked about him being educated and stuff.
Hmm.
Uh, so we can talk about his first wife. That
Who's?
his first wife
Oh, all right. See,
from
I,
from
I, I did. I
from
did.
from West Africa.
Now you're testing my African knowledge. He had a first wife from West Africa.
Yes, yes, he had the first
I
wife
have
from.
no idea. I had no idea.
You have no idea, from Ghana.
No. Ah, have I heard that before? Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
hmm.
Mugabe's first wife was from Ghana, and her name was Sally.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
Oh,
Grace is after that.
so, bro, thank you very much for that lesson. I didn't know Mugabe's first wife was from West Africa. I didn't know, the guy loves jollof rice like that, Ghanaian jollof. So, thank you very much.
Hmm.
We've talked a lot about Zim, and I wanna. You've spent the last 15 years over here in America.
Hmm.
This is most of your adult life already, because
Yeah.
15 years of your adult life minus your age is like your entire adult life here in the US. And where I want to start in wanting to know your life about your life here in the US is, did you have any expectations as you left Zimbabwe?